He'll be so embarrassed.
Hey,
We're
Isaac.
live.
So Tracy says, just log in. We're actually now live. So
we're recording this call because we
as
lose our
we're going
spot on Facebook.
Yeah. No. Oh yeah, no. So it's right now. Right. So started at 4 your time. So just log on. Yeah. So just log on and then we'll figure out how to get your audio working and what we need to do. How about that? Okay. See you in a sec. Bye. There we go.
This is real life behind the scenes. Well, no one's watching live yet anyway. I can see if anyone's watching, so we're good.
So is this always a live podcast?
No, just for this month because it's our 6-year birthday party.
Oh, how fun is that?
Yeah.
Wow. Great.
6 years. I just went back and I found this video of my son. I'd just taken him out to the sidewalk. He was missing his 2 front teeth. And I said to him, so what's it like to be listened to? And he's like, well, when you get listened to, it's just such a relief to tell all your secrets to someone. So cute. Precious. Now he's like, do not share that with anyone. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
So
right.
Cute.
Yeah. Do not share that with anyone. You got it. Oh God.
What's the problem that he's having?
I don't know what the problem is right now. Let's see. Can you tell if he's trying to log in?
No, it's the software is so easy. All you need is a browser and you need to push the link.
Well, it was interesting. I couldn't, I had to go, it won't work on Safari. It needed Chrome.
So maybe that's the issue he's having.
So I don't know what he's searching on, Dan. Right.
Well, there's still no one watching us, so we're okay.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm copying your link right here, and I'm going to send it to his. I'm going to send it to his email. I mean, not to his email, to his
cell phone.
Cell phone. Yeah. Sorry. Come on. Copy link. Sorry. Technology.
We love it and hate it.
We do.
Yeah, that's actually what I was just researching before I got on live. I submitted for a TED Talk because I finally felt like I might have something to offer.
Fantastic.
And it's related to technology and human connection. But I want to take it in a slightly different direction than Sherry Turkle takes it. Doing a little more. Yeah, it'll just be interesting. I'm actually thinking of doing something very feminine, where I'm thinking of getting 6 or 7 women thinkers on the phone and saying, I want you to contribute to my talk. Well, there's Isaac.
Oh, is he on?
Look, yeah.
Where is he?
Yes. Wow.
Isaac.
Look at you.
Hi, Guy. How you doing?
Hi.
No pressure, but we're already live.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. You're
do it like this.
You're going on live, right? Whoops.
No, the other way.
Okay.
There you go.
Are you in New Orleans?
Yes, I'm in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Waiting on my daughter to walk in here. She was coming to show me how to work that headset.
Do we need a headset?
You can hear me?
I can hear you okay. I mean, a headset would make the sound quality better because we're going to rebroadcast this and this, closer to the time your book comes out. The book's out in November, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So what I want to do is have the podcast go live in November. This is a stream on Facebook, and you're a celebrity on Facebook and YouTube right now, but a celebrity to no one because nobody's watching right now. So it's okay. Right, it's the middle of the workday.
Exactly.
Yeah. And 11 o'clock where I am. Yeah. I'm in Germany.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So Isaac, Tracy, Isaac. There we go.
Nice to meet you. Yeah. I'm a nerdy therapist who happens to be a fan of Amy's. So I stalked her a few years ago and got her to come talk on our Facebook Live. Back when Facebook was viewed more, because I got to see her speak at the IP&B conference.
Yeah.
2017. something like that.
It was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now Amy told me about your book. I feel like it's beautiful timing because there's so much going on in our country.
Yeah.
So are you guys ready to get down and dirty and vulnerable?
I am.
Oh, yes.
How about you?
Isaac,
right?
you
Yes.
seem a little delayed. Do you need us to wait until you get those headphones?
I can hear y'all real good. I don't know if you can
Okay.
hear me.
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Could
we
y'all
really
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Isaac. So I think we can.
All right.
I think we
Let's
can
do
dive
it.
in.
Okay. So for the sake of the podcast, we're going to pretend like we haven't been talking already for a few minutes, and I'm going to do the little super razzle dazzle thing where I introduce you guys. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Sort of, because I also
Okay.
record an intro later, but for the folks that might log in.
You're listening now. Yeah.
So, guys, I'm Tracy Rubel, and
Right.
I've got Isaac Knapper. I've got Amy Banks, and you guys have co-written a book together called Fighting Time. But the story that brings you guys together is pretty grippy. Can you hear us okay, Isaac? I don't think he's hearing us.
The sound is echoing real bad.
Oh. Huh. Do I need Tracy, when you're on, do we need to mute mics or anything or not? No.
Why don't you try it, Amy?
Okay.
Is that better, Isaac? Is there less echoey?
Yes.
Okay. It's your fault, Amy.
It has an echo. It's echoing real bad. So I don't.
Still?
You can.
Is it still echoing?
I don't hear anything now. Maybe I need to put it on my phone.
What do you think, Tracy? What do you recommend?
Well, it looks like we missed the Facebook window anyway, so we don't have to stress. Let's just get the sound right. Let me ask you this, Isaac.
Yes.
What's going to feel the most comfy to you? What will make you feel the most comfortable?
I mean, I don't know if the headset. I don't know if the headset would work better.
How far away is
sound,
it? Is it in the other room?
I can hear you now. Good. The headset is in the other room right there.
Go get the headset in the other room. We're not in a.
Yeah.
Now that it's not on Facebook, there's no stress.
Good. Yeah. You know, it's amazing. One of the things that I do with Isaac is at this point is I've been attending a formerly incarcerated support group. You know, so people that have been incarcerated for long amount. I've been attending a formerly incarcerated.
Sorry.
Yeah. And but you know, part of what's amazing, right? Of course, is for these guys that have been away in prison for so long, the technology is crazy. Right? I mean,
meaning because they've got a lot of technology, or it's
no,
the
like
technology itself they have none, and so it's super crazy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are those Bluetooth, Isaac, or are they wired?
Yeah, Bluetooth.
Okay.
Bluetooth, but it's saying Bluetooth mode. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we could just go on like this. Till my daughter get here, she's on her way. She can show me how to work that.
How to work that? Yeah. What do you think, Trace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm just going to put the YouTube on Facebook because there were a couple of people that were hoping to see it, and this way they can watch it live.
Okay.
Interview with Isaac. Aren't you guys proud of me at how I just roll with this stuff, and I'm not even stressed right now? I'm kind of proud of myself. I just got to say that.
Very proud of you, Tracy. Very friendly.
I needed that.
Yeah. I'm happy to give you compliments. I can get them throughout the time here if that's what you need. A little dopamine hit, right? A little dopamine along the way. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have one viewer now. So one viewer, say hi in the comments. If you type in your comments, the viewer that we have on YouTube, and then tell others on the Facebook page that they have to come over to YouTube to watch it, that'd be great. I want to just get started because I have to tell you guys, I'm really moved because you guys have the courage that I wish the rest of the United States had right now. This is why I'm the most excited to talk to you, because I'm hoping, well, let's start there. Let's get a backstory for the folks that are tuning in and they're listening in. Tell me your backstory. Tell me, give me the high level run, unless you want me to tell it, but I know it's hard to retell it over and over again. But what's the backstory about why the two of you are in each other's lives?
Do you want me to jump in, Isaac, or do you want to start it? Honestly, I'm happy to, or you
can start.
Okay. Isaac, for folks that are listening and anybody that's going to tune in at any point, Isaac is, as a young man, actually when he was 17 was, and actually I was 17, so we were, the same age when this happened. My father was murdered on a trip to New Orleans, and which is where Isaac's from, and he was picked up within a month, arrested for the murder, railroaded for the murder, and tried as an adult, convicted of the murder of my father, and went to prison for 13 years, but was wrongfully convicted. The prosecution withheld really blatantly obvious material that would have, probably prevented the case even going to trial. And Isaac, so the short story is Isaac was released in 2000, not in 2000, and just before I think you were 30, right, 91. Isaac? In 91, yes, right? Just 29. Yeah. And, part of the story, might be slightly different. If I'm telling it versus Isaac, but part of the story was that when Isaac was released, he was, in a lot of ways celebrated in his neck of the woods, and with the folks that knew him and believed him to be, innocent all along. But nobody told my family that he had been released or that my father's murder case was an open murder case. And we didn't find out until 2005. So a good 14 years later, and entirely by accident, when my brother-in-law Googled Isaac, and, up pops all of this information about, the prosecutorial misconduct, Isaac's boxing career, kind of what had happened to him before. And it was just devastating to my family. We couldn't get anywhere with it, but in 2015, another 10 years passed. And as my kids were becoming the age that Isaac and I were when he was wrongly convicted and my father was murdered, this stuff was just broiling in me. You can imagine Tracy as a therapist, right? I mean, that moment when your kids become the age you are, or they're becoming the age you are when some significant trauma happens. And I had to figure it out. And I reached out to his then, the lawyer who had, worked to get him exonerated with some other folks, but who got him exonerated. I reached out to her. She's now a judge in Louisiana. She got back to me and connected me with Isaac. We met in 2015, an incredibly, profound and healing weekend in New Orleans. My sister Nancy came with me, and we've been, connected and in relationship building, and to me, an increasingly deep and profound friendship since then. And man, there are a lot of details that, in this, but we decided, back then to write a book together, and really were wanting to share this story about walking into the spaces of, walking into those spaces that people don't dare to go to, right? And the way that, Isaac and his wife Denise welcomed us and shared with us. I mean, it's been transformative to me. Yeah.
Isaac, what did Amy get right, and what would you add, or get wrong? What would you add to the way she framed it all?
Well, yeah, she pretty much got it right. Everything she said was perfect. Um, we we connected, and I mean, it's a very unique story. You know, we love each other. You know,
Yeah.
and we I mean, we hooked. It was like everything was good. Everything was perfect. We went to the state penitentiary where I was sentenced to spend the rest of my life, and got a chance to. She and Nancy got a chance to speak with a lot of guys that was in prison along with me, serving time, um, and got a chance to even eat with them. Sat in a dining hall, and the warden gave us the privilege to view. I mean to tour the entire prison, and we went all through the cell blocks and everywhere, and they got a chance to speak with a lot of guys that was be friends to me, and we had a nice time, and we got a chance to even tour where Hurricane Katrina attacked a place in New Orleans in the ninth ward where the levee broke, and we had a good time. We had a nice time, and uh, I mean everything she said was correct, and I enjoyed it, and you know our friendship is just extended, you know, and we like family now.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really is like
I
that. I
was
mean,
Yeah.
were you going to say, Isaac? Yeah.
Now I was just wondering because I can see look like the voice is speaking, but the reactions are delayed on the Zoom camera.
You've got
Oh,
some delays. Okay. Okay. That's awkward.
Yeah,
We're
everything is seems like
slow motion or just delayed. Yeah.
okay.
we can
Yeah.
tell because you kind of will look at us strange. So we won't take it personally that you're thinking funny things about us. It's because you're actually got
Okay.
a delay. Well,
Yeah, it's delayed
so
because
let me
when
ask
Amy
you a
was
question.
speaking, I can see her mouth move.
What have you guys, so this is a big deal because both of your guys' lives were shaped and frankly hurt in pretty big ways. Okay. And so here you are, things aren't what you thought.
Hello. Hello.
I want to say Isaac gets a lot of calls. Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Oh, I'm in a Zoom meeting right now.
Oh, you a little busy?
Yes, I'll call back.
All right.
Could y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
yeah,
good.
we got you and we got your friends. So just, if they don't want anything recorded.
Okay.
Here's my big question for you guys. As you come back together and you think about what's transpired over the course of your lives, how much hurt was in the past, what has changed about you in just the coming back together process? Like, how has that impacted your life, finding each other? How does it shape the way you view the past?
Let me jump in first, Isaac. Then you can add because I think sort of part of what I like to point out with this story is this story should have been a tragedy for my family and my family alone, right?
Right.
Isaac got pulled into my family. I mean, got pulled into, the crap that was happening to my family. This was an innocent boy,
Man,
right?
boy,
Right? When this happened, and I have to say, I mean, so for me, right? I mean, so much has changed, right? I mean, by the time I met Isaac in 2015, it's not that I was naive to race relations or, I mean, I work, the work of, the Jean Baker Miller Training Institute. I knew what was happening out there, right? But you know what? It's a hell of a lot different when you're sitting face to face with, Isaac, that first meeting when he was sharing with us, not just that he was wrongly convicted, but the way he was wrongly convicted, the brutality, the beating that he had as a 16-year-old boy to try to get him to confess to a murder that he hadn't, wasn't anywhere near. He was home. And so for me, as this has unfolded, all of this stuff, and it's not like, the systemic racism was remote to me. I mean, I took it very seriously, but when I sat across from this insanely decent human being and heard what his experience had been, it's like it's now in me differently, and it's like it's an embodied sense of it. And to have been fed the lines that my family were fed when we were told, when they arrested Isaac, we got a steady stream of what I would say racist rhetoric of how they got the guy. There's no doubt that this is the guy. They've been wanting to get him for a long time. He's a badass. He's zero to, that is what we were told over and over and over again. And I grew up in Maine. We grew up in the whitest state in the country. And, I like to say, I mean, Maine is like actually one step beyond white, in that we didn't have experience. So I'm 17. My family doesn't have experience with people of color, right? They didn't exist. So there was no context in which, we would be sitting there thinking, geez, do you think these prosecutors are doing the right thing? Do you think they're lying to us? It didn't enter our mind. We're just like, oh, thank you for looking out for us. And so to be duped and pulled into this, I feel like my family was pulled into, and my life was pulled into this profound systemic racist story. We were used, in a sense, and didn't even have this, the wherewithal to say, hey, is this right? So here, and one of the things that I remember, my brother went to the trial. I didn't go, my brother, my uncle. And one of the things that I remember my brother coming home with is the story of when the decision was rendered in a one-day trial. Okay. This young boy, Isaac, it was a freaking one-day trial, right? He was railroaded in. But when the verdict was read, the reaction my brother shared with his family, just being devastated, right? Wailing, crying, this is their boy. I've got, at the time, when I had a 17-year-old son, what in the world would I do if I'm sitting in the courtroom as his mother was and his sisters, and they've just convicted my son who I know was home. You know what I mean? And there's nothing you can do about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, I really get so impassioned about this. I don't even know where I'm going with it, so,
well, let me just stop you for a second, because you're
you.
inviting us all into a moment of empathy, because what I see and hear when I'm looking at you is outrage. And what you're inviting us all to do is take this race crap out of it and just feel for a moment what it would be like if you were sitting in a courtroom and your 16-year-old kid who was at home with you was just convicted of someone's murder.
Right.
How would you respond? What would happen? What would be coursing through your veins? And so you're really inviting us to step more deeply into the discomfort of the culpability that we all have to a system that treats people like this. Really.
Yep.
Yeah. Isaac, I can't deny that, Amy and I are a couple of white ladies sitting here, and you're like, your head is a little shrunk on the screen, which kind of freaks me out. I'm like, God, it's like, already the metaphor is like kind of freaking me out. I'm like, all right, I wish you were like here with us and your mic was working. I just want you to be like I don't want to talk about you like you're in the third person. Like, can we be? I mean, how can we be more outraged than you are? That doesn't like. How do you hold the? I mean, how are you making sense of all this? I know from talking to a lot of my Black friends are like, girl, because we've been dealing with this for so much longer. You're just like finally waking up to it. We're like so callous now that this is no big deal to us. So you can take your little white tears and I'll give you a little gold star for them. But how are you? How do you hold this when you go back to that memory of what your family was going through?
Well, when I go back to that memory, I think about the very first day my parents come to visit me. They was granted a special visit, and my mother and father came to visit me, and my father asked me. He said, "What did you do?" And him and my mother, they were separated at the time, but they came together for the purpose of me being arrested. And he asked me, "What did I do?" I said, "I didn't do anything." He said, "Okay, son, I believe you." He said, "And we're gonna work and try and get you out of this mess." And at the time, 16 years old, I believed in my heart that that they would find out the truth and I would be released. And it was soon to be Christmas, and that's every kid's favorite holiday. And so Christmas is coming around, and I asked him, I said, "You think they're gonna let me out of here before Christmas?" I remember asking him that, and he said, "Well, we're gonna work on it. We're gonna go get a lawyer, and we're gonna try and get you out of here before Christmas." And I was concerned about being home for Christmas, and because I've never missed a Christmas, and so I'm like, wow, I guess they'll let me out of here. They got to know that I didn't do anything. And my mom, she was sort of crying, teary-eyed, and trying to explain to me that we're gonna get a lawyer and we're gonna find out what they can do to get you out of here. And so that was the very first day of my visit. It was like I got arrested. I think it was on the 12th, and it was the next day they came in to visit me. And so, but after that, when they found me guilty, it was unbelievable. I was like, it was so shocking. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing when they said, yeah, I just couldn't believe it, because I thought I had confidence and sort of faith that the system would do the right thing and that they would find out, say, well, even though I have to go through all of this for them to find out, but with their experience and everything, they would find out that I'm innocent and they'll release me. And that was my belief. I believed that they would find out and they would release me. So when trial came around and they said guilty, it was like my head just exploded and I couldn't believe it. I said, wow. And all was running through my mind was guilty. What happened? And I'm still trying to find out what happened. And so I goes back. I don't see the lawyer no more. My lawyer, it seems though, my lawyer, I don't know what kind of lawyer he was, but he didn't say anything to me. After they found me guilty, I never seen him again. He didn't say, look, we're going to file an appeal. We're going to try and work on this and get you out of here. He didn't say anything. I never seen him again. After they took me out of the courtroom and brought me back to the tier that I was on with these other guys, and they was asking me, all other guys asking me what happened, because they know when somebody's going to trial. It was like, what happened to you? What they done? I said, they said guilty. And so these guys were saying, wow, man, they're going to give you a life sentence and you'll never see the streets again. And I said, no. I said, something else can be done. They got to know that I didn't do it. He said, man, they don't care. And some of the guys, most guys, and I think maybe every guy in there was black. I think they had a white face in there. and all of them was basically saying the same thing. He said, "Man, look, you accused of killing a white person, and you're a black person." He said, "They're not gonna let you out of here, so you may as well get comfortable and get like the rest of us." You know? And I said, "But something have to be done about this here." And that time, it was the worst. It was the worst time of my life, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. Now, my next visit was in the Louisiana State Penitentiary, and excuse me, oh, hold on.
Who's that?
My grandbaby just walked in.
Is that Noah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Tell Noah that you're on a podcast interview.
Yeah,
Noah will know what it is.
okay. Yeah. And so my next visit in the state penitentiary at Angola, my very first visit, my mom, everybody heard about this prison, and they heard that Angola was the bloodiest prison in America. Guys was getting killed, getting their throat sliced, and just about every other day. You know, they had over 7,000 convicts there, and at the time you had to be serving a life sentence to go to Angola. So everybody there is serving forever, the rest of their entire life, other than the guys that has numbers. And so it was bloody, and it was deadly, and it was a nightmare. And they happened to send me to the worst cell block of all in Angola, in that area. That's where guys was really getting killed, and it's just, it was awful. And my mom come visit me for the first time in Angola, and when I went to the visiting room, she was sitting there, and I walked in there, and she was just terrified. She was shaking, she was nervous, she was crying, and she kept asking me. She was looking at me up and down. "Are you all right?" I said, "Yes, Mom, I'm all right." And I was trying to be strong and try to put on a good face for my mom, because I didn't want her to worry as much. And she was crying and terrified. And she said, "This place, these guys here, I done heard so much about Angola, and these guys, they some hard guys. They kill people, you know, they rob people, they does everything. And you don't belong in here around these people."
Hi.
Hey, Noah.
Yes.
Hi, sweetie. How you doing?
Yes. Yeah, and so they when I was trying to explain to my mom that I'm all right, and I understand that they have these kind of people here, but I'm gonna be all right. And the lawyer gonna file an appeal, and I'll be home. You know, I'll just have to deal with it. And my mom would tell me to pray, just pray every chance you get, pray, and ask God, you know, to help you. I didn't want to tell my mom at the time, but I was angry with God. I was angry with God because in my mind, you know, I told my mom, "Yes, I pray, Mom. I pray every day," but I wasn't praying because I was upset and angry with God, because I figured if he's a God of mercy and grace and justice, why would he allow this to happen to me? And so I would read the Bible, and I would try and get some understanding out of the Bible about all the great prophets and the disciples and all what they went through, and some of the things they had to deal with, how Paul went to prison, and he was an apostle, wrote over half of the New Testament, and he went through some things that he was accused of. And I read about the Creator, the Messiah, how he was wrongly convicted and so I'm reading about all these things, and I'm saying, well, what all that has to do with me? You know, I wasn't in the biblical times. So I don't, deserve this. And so, but it took me a while to start accepting what had happened and that I had no control of it, and it was like my mother said. She said eventually it'll pass and they'll find out you're innocent and you'll get out. Because my mom never once let up. Every Friday they would call me for visit, and she was there every Friday the whole time I was in prison. She
Yeah.
never missed a Friday, and the reason she would come on Fridays is to get me out of the field, because I had to pick cotton and all that, and work in the field.
You were
And
picking
on
cotton.
weekends,
Yeah, not only picking cotton. I mean, Angola was a plantation before it was a prison.
yes,
He's picking cotton in the same
exactly,
fields that black people in slavery picked cotton, right, Isaac? I mean, yeah.
right, exactly.
So Isaac, what do you think about the U.S. prison system now after all this stuff has happened to you? And what do you, if you were all knowing and all powerful and could magically say, this is the change I'm going to make, what would it be?
Well, I would change. I would evaluate some of the staff members for sure, because they makes it worse than what it is, and they don't believe anybody is innocent. They believe everybody that comes through that gate is guilty, and that's how they treat us. They're gonna treat you like you're guilty. They don't care if you're innocent. When you enter that gate, their job is to treat you like you're guilty. So I would change the staff, evaluate them before I would allow them to work in a system like that, in a prison system, because we have guys that's guilty and that committed the crimes that they're accused of, but we have also guys that's innocent, that did not commit a crime, and they don't deserve to be treated like that. So even if you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, and if the trial, if they had proved you guilty, and you know in your heart that you're innocent, because they're real people all the time. I have friends that Amy met that was that's got released from prison, that was innocent and got their case exonerated, So, it's just that I would do that. I would evaluate the staff members before I allow them to work in a place like that, and then, I would change. It's so much that I would change. I would change the system to where they would give everybody equal opportunities. They would give them a chance, a fair chance, when they get arrested for a crime. And because you have lots of people that they will plead guilty when they're guilty, most of them, to get a plea bargain and to get a good deal. And we have people that's innocent and they're gonna stick with that. They're not gonna ever plead guilty to something they didn't do. So with these people, that's letting you know that they didn't do it and they're innocent. I mean, they need to be treated like that, like they're innocent until proven guilty. Because I didn't think. I would listen to a lot of guys in prison, and they would discuss their case, and a bunch of them would say, "Well, I did what I did, and I'm doing my time. I'm serving my time for what I did." But you would also meet some guys that would tell you, "Man, I did not do this." And they will feel like they've been punished for things that they did in the past, but not for that. Some of the guys would say, "Well, I committed crimes, but I didn't commit this crime that I'm in here for. So I think that the crimes that I got away with, I'm being punished for that right now." So I hear guys say stuff like that. So
I have to bring in the uncomfortable context that the three of us are meeting the day after the year anniversary of George Floyd's murder. And that whole public display of the U.S. criminal justice system in plain sight is, in a way, so linked to your story. because we're talking about the way that the police and the justice system treat Black and brown people. And I just wonder how it's been, frankly, for the two of you, having gone through this whole experience together. It's not like it's gotten any easier in the United States. We've got cell phones and can take videos of this stuff now. It's not like it's hidden. How has it been for you two emotionally?
You know, I'll jump in, Isaac. I mean, you and I haven't talked about it. I remember when George Floyd was murdered. I do remember, I don't know if you remember this, Isaac, but my initial response was to text Isaac and Denise and say, you know, again, out of this rage, like that could, you know, this is Noah. This is Isaac. This is Isaac's brother, Cornel. That's what's happening. You know what I mean? And so, you know, just again, such a helpless outrage, you know, and, you know, for me, you know, it does fuel the desire to be a white person trying to change the system, you know, to use whatever power I do have by virtue of my skin color, my position as an MD, my whatever, to be able to, you know, use our story and how we've come together to try to inspire people that there is another way. You know what I mean? I want people to hear what I was told about Isaac. I want them to hear that my family, my white family, was duped. Partly we were duped about Isaac in large part because my dad was white. And Louisiana was, you know, New Orleans was trying to have this conference center be a place, you know, it was right outside of the New Orleans Superdome in the Hyatt Regency, and they had just built it 3 years before his murder. And they wanted this to be a place that attracted tourists and people to come and, you know, and take advantage of everything it has to offer. And they didn't care. They needed somebody. They didn't have anybody, right? They didn't know who did this. They didn't have anybody, although they should have known, because there was literally a note that was sent to the detective that said, hey, we're bringing to your attention 3 men that were held up, 3 young Black men held up, another couple 1 week later, 1 block away, with the same gun that killed my father, with 1 bullet that was gone from that gun, 5 bullets in, 1 bullet missing. The bullet missing matched the ballistics of the bullet that killed my father. All of this was in the police document. This was known information. They had already arrested Isaac, and they went with it. They just discounted any of that. They didn't, you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, so again, I mean, there was nothing subtle about this, just as there was nothing subtle about that officer Shaven's knee on George Floyd's neck. This is not happening subtly. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't then. It's not now. This is blatant. If we can't get at the blatant racism, you know what I mean? How the hell are we going to try to, you know, even think about something as profound as reparations, or how we're building, you know, housing systems that don't take into account what people of color need, right? I mean, so, you know, what I want to say to people is just freaking open your eyes. Look at this. This is not, don't listen and hear that this is a few bad apples. This is embedded in our system of justice. Right? There's a reason that there are, you know, of 7,000 people, convicts in Angola. There is a reason that, what, Isaac, would you say, like 6,500 are men of color, right? It's not because they're doing more crime.
I mean, Isaac, when you would look around and see so few white faces, I have to believe it crossed your mind that this is about racism. I mean, the link, they're sending us out to cotton fields to freaking pick cotton for essentially free.
Yeah. It's you know, it was modern slavery, you know, modern slavery. And I would learn that being there, listening to a lot of old guys that had been there 20, 30 years, 40 years, and they would tell the stories about the plantation, what it was before it was a prison, and that it was a slave plantation, and they still uses the inmates like slaves. You know, you're getting 2 cents an hour, 2 pennies. That's what you get. You work 8 hard hours. You're picking cotton, you're digging ditches, you're doing everything that the slaves was doing on that plantation, you know. And so that's what is basically modern slavery, you know. And right now today is still the same. It never changed. So they got guys that got released from prison, that's trying to make a change, that's trying to do all they can to even make changes, not only trying to help other guys regain their freedom, but they trying to make some of the changes in the Angola system, the way is being ran, about doing all the field work. They have machinery that can do these things that they do in Angola, but they don't use the machines. They use human bodies. You know, they bring them. They have to walk to work. They may have to walk 2 or 3 miles, you know, to work. And once they get there, then they start working, and then they walk back. You know, so they treat you like a slave.
Yeah, I was going to say, Isaac, you know, one of the stories that Isaac often tells, and certainly in the book, is you know, there's the field work, right? Is that there was a policy that in order to get off field work and get into something that maybe was a little bit less horrible, you had to have 90 days in the field without a violation, you know, a conduct violation, right, Isaac? And you said it took you almost 9 years to get out of that, because you know, and this is what you're saying, the people that are working there, they would wait until day 89 and then give you a violation and say, yep, you start those 90 days all over again, right?
You have to start over. That's right. That was their way of keeping you in the field.
So I gotta ask.
So it took me about.
Oh, sorry. The delay is making it hard. I'm keeping us on track because I could talk to you for 3 hours, and I'm sure you guys don't want to sit here and talk to me for 3 hours. So I'm kind of driving a little bit more than I would. Yeah. How do you not have your spirit broken, right? Like, what is it in you, Isaac? So because I do want to talk about your magnificence before we wrap up, because I don't want the legacy story about Isaac Knapper to be about going to prison. I want to make sure we talk about all the good stuff you do in the world before we finish our conversation today. But man, if I were that person on day 89, I would be curled up because I'm just not as resilient. I would be curled up in a fetal position, either that or I'd be kicking some ass. Those would be the 2 things that I would be doing if that kind of stuff kept happening to me.
But see, Isaac, I want to hear this, but I just want to say you can say that because you're white.
I know.
Right? I mean,
because I would get it, because potentially I'd get away with it. Whereas if either of those things happened to you, you might die.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you're right. You're right. You know, because the white privilege, it does exist, not just out in society, but also inside the prison walls. You know, you see some of the white faces, they would get away with things that, you know, that a black face wouldn't even try. They wouldn't even attempt to do some of these things because they know what the consequences would be. You know, and you didn't have too many white faces in the field. You may see a couple of them, maybe 2 or 3 white faces that's in the field, and the reason they are in the field because they refuse to accept the white privilege that they have. They want to be treated like everybody else, you know, and they refuse to allow the system to change who they are. And they was some of the guys like, and I know their name, Larry Bird, Charlie Stanley. These were some white friends of mine that they refuse. They said, if you're not gonna put him on the compound, I'm not going. If he gonna be out here, I'm gonna be out here, you know. and they was willing to sacrifice themselves under the cruel and unusual circumstances, that because we know that the field was cruel and unusual punishment, you know, and they would really sacrifice themselves, because lots of guys will cut their fingers off. They would take these 2 fingers and just chop them off, you know, just to get a duty status. A duty status is something that it prevents you from going in the field. You don't have to go in the field if you have a duty status. Some of them would chop their big toe off and get somebody to just chop it off, because they have all these kind of weapons in Angola, and they would just chop the toe off to keep from going in the field, because they couldn't handle it. And especially trying to get 90 days in it, like Amy said, you get 89 days and then all of a sudden they give you a write-up, you know, where you have to start 90 all over again. So they was doing that to so many people, and some of these guys couldn't handle that field. So they would cut their toe off, cut their 2 fingers off, you know, to keep from going out there, you know. But you had, like I said, a handful of these white guys that was, they didn't believe in it. They didn't believe in that it's systemic racism, and they wanted to be treated just like the blacks, you know. And so with them, being they were sort of rebellious. That's how they would look at them, as being rebellious. Okay, you want to be treated like a nigger? All right, keep him in the field, you know. And they didn't mind sacrificing themselves to stay in the field, you know, because they didn't want to be treated any different. But the ones that, okay, let me go, they'll get out of the field quick. But you had a few that didn't they didn't agree with it at all.
Yeah.
So the 2 of you have written this book for a reason. Hearing your stories moves souls, really, just for me, even in this short time. But you have a white person or a black person that one day in November is going to grab hold of that hardback book that says "Fighting for Time" on the cover.
Fighting time.
Fighting time. Sorry.
Yeah.
And they always got to get one name wrong with you, Amy, I swear.
That's right.
They start turning the pages and reading your story. They finish the book and they put it down and they go, what do you want them to do next? Or what do you hope the lasting impact is on that human?
For me, I hope they put it down and they say, I can do better. I can get more involved. I can start listening. I can enter this dialogue that desperately needs to happen in the United States. I can be part of the solution of fixing this very, very disturbed, broken system. That's what I want them to do. And I want them to say, okay, what, ask those questions that you're asking. Isaac, to me, Isaac is an unusual person, partly because I think, like, there are a lot of human beings that cut corners and, and don't, in the book, Isaac talks about the moment. I mean, there's just so many poignant moments, Isaac, that you have written about. There's so many, and I want to share 2 of them if I could, Trace, and you tell me if I'm going long on time. One is the moment when the prosecutor, after Isaac has been beaten literally to within an inch of his life, okay, and the detective and this other guy who are interrogating him, and yet still he says, no, I can't tell you. I was not there. I'm not going to confess to it. And then finally, shortly before the trial happens, the other guy that had gotten also arrested, Leroy Williams, they do all this time. This is part of the broken system, is they went to both of these guys and they said to each one. So to Leroy, they said, we know,
echoing.
It's echoing, Isaac, because in order for me to talk, I have to have my thing on and then it echoes. Oh. So bear with me for a second while I finish this, and then you can jump in. So they go to both of these guys and offer them a deal. To Leroy, they say, if you confess and say you guys were both there and that Isaac did the shooting, you can get a lesser sentence. And Leroy took it. They came back and said that to Isaac, and he said, no, I can't. I don't know who was there, and I wasn't there, so I can't tell you that Leroy Williams shot this man. Okay? That's one point of human decency and human honesty that I think is worth everybody hearing. Okay? So there's one. The other story that is just, to me, was the moment of transformation, I think, for me, and also for my sister Nancy and Isaac. I think for you and Denise too, was when we first met. We're sitting across from each other, and Isaac had been very generously sharing. We had been asking him about his experience and what, how did he get arrested? And we're hearing this, what people will read in the book, this just horrific, guns at 5 o'clock in the morning, him getting taken out in his underwear in, too tight, handcuffs. I mean, just a horrific story, including the beating, including how this happened. And then at one point, Denise, his wife, looks at Nancy and I and said, God, this must have been so hard for you guys. Your father was killed. And, like I often say, we're Maine people, my sister and I, we don't, we're stoic. We don't talk about our pain a lot, and my sister was 8 years old when my father was murdered. She and I are very close. And so she and I have been on this journey together. And Nancy said something about, she was just 8, or I did, or whatever, when the murder happened, and Isaac jumped in immediately and he said, I remember that the whole time I was waiting for my trial. I remember, and even the early days of Angola, I remember that Dr. Banks, my father, Dr. Banks, he was a professor, had an 8-year-old child. And I kept thinking of her all the time that I was in. And I kept thinking, I wish there was something I could do. Right. Can you imagine? Right. Second point of profound human decency. I look at my sister, who is just like face in hands, sobbing now. Right. This has been locked in her body, in my body, for, at this point, 36 years. And she's just sobbing. And, and like I say, the trauma therapist in me, the trauma psychiatrist, I sort of looked at Isaac and I thought, I would expect at that moment that he would move away from the pain. And he was right there, and he just looked at her with her sobbing, and he said, can I give you a hug? Right? So here we are. We're now 2 hours into this relationship, and Isaac and my sister are embracing. We're all now sobbing, right? We're all crying. And that to me was humanity, Isaac's humanity. This is the person he is. This is, and there are, this is Isaac. That's what I came to know. And that has been transformative to me. When people ask me, what is the legacy? What is the story? That's what I want people to hear. Stop. We talk at the formerly incarcerated prison group last night, Isaac, that the topic was stigmatization of when you have been imprisoned and what it's like to come out, right? That is who I met at the doorsteps of the courtroom where he was arrested with, that's who I met that day. He is who he has been unfailingly in our relationship. He stands up, he steps up, he helps people, that's who they dragged and railroaded into Angola. Do you know what I mean? Like, that matters to me. That's what I want them to hear. Compare those storylines. Racist America versus who this man is, who this boy was, Would you add, Isaac, to that? I mean, hope I didn't put you on the spot, but you and your mother are my heroes, right?
Yeah. You speak so profound and so perfect, and you tell everything like it is. And so it's hard to come behind you and and add my part to it. But I mean, yeah, because it's so emotional, and like the day we met in that courtroom, in Laurie's courtroom, and thinking about Nancy being so young, a baby, 8 years old, lost her father, and like I said before, I thought of her so much in prison. I read about the ages in the newspaper and everything, and I just couldn't imagine the pain and that she had to observe. And so, I mean, when I had the opportunity and the chance to just touch her, I felt that it just ran all through my body, and I felt everything. And I think that brought the emotions out more, and the tears just started coming, and because and that kind of, I mean, after all these years and thinking about her, and now she's an adult, and looking at that face and getting a chance to meet Amy, and it was just so touching, so emotional. I mean, it's an experience that I'll never forget.
When I listen to you, and you just might be one of those special unicorn people, Isaac, but I also know that the part of me that is a caretaker of other people as a way to get around my own hurt or sense of powerlessness, right? Like
Yes.
I have to just, I'll tell you what's going on in me. I don't want to hear about the hug you gave to Amy's sister. I just want to give you a hug because you were a 16-year-old
Thank
boy
you.
that was in pain, and I just want to hug the 16-year-old boy.
Yes.
Who do we have here? Is this your wife?
This is my wife, Denise.
Hi.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Denise.
Look like it froze.
We're not, we still see you.
Yeah, we can still see you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I just, there's like this social justice part of me that's tired of Black folks having to comfort white folks when racism impacts us. And I feel like I get a little, I'm like, on the one hand, I want to champion you and say, good for you. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, who's taking care of Isaac? That's what comes up in me as I hear this.
Yeah.
I have a 13-year-old son. I have a boy, 2 boys. And you were a boy.
Yeah, right. He was a boy,
So I'm just giving you a big hug like I would give to my teenage son, to the 16-year-old boy in you. And I'll tell you, I'm motivated to get off my ass and like do right by him.
Yeah.
Do right by him.
Yeah.
I hope we all can. None of this like kumbaya stuff. I mean, the kumbaya feels great. Don't get me wrong. But I've never felt more motivated to get off my duff in my life than hearing the 2 of you.
That's what I want people to do when they hear this story, is exactly that, right? Yeah. Know that 16-year-old boy, right? See this man who is sitting here now, having, spent umpteen years in prison, who stayed in touch with his children, who, his wife, Denise, stayed with him during a second imprisonment. It's just, there's Noah, there's, see
Yeah.
and respect, just human respect for what this, what white people are doing to people of color. And in particularly in this story, Isaac and his family. Not okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know we need to wrap up. So now it's time to toot your horns. It's time to say all the good stuff, because you guys have taken these experiences, and Isaac, you do some really cool stuff down in New Orleans now. So you have been out. I hear that you're a boxer, which my 12-year-old is going to want to hear all about this because he just broke his punching bag last week. So, so tell me what you're doing in the world now, and what's the difference that you're making in people's lives?
Well, before I was incarcerated, I was boxing and training for the Junior Olympics at the time. And I started at a young age. I was 9 years old when I started boxing, and it was my first love. and it's something I'm very passionate about. And after time caught up, and I couldn't fight no more, so I'll try and install those skills into younger people. So I'm a coach at Millennium Boxing Club, and I train young kids, females and males. I have about 12 females from 9 years old, from eight years old, all the way up to like 18 years old, and I have about 30 male from 8 years old all the way up to like 20, 22, 23 years old. In fact, we got a few of them. We about to turn pro now. They did everything as an amateur, and they've been with us for like 4 or 5 years. So it's time for them to step up to another level. We just had a big tournament Saturday past in Biloxi called the Sugar Break Tournament, and we won 5 out of 6. Was it 4 out of 5? I know we lost one fight, and but we doing real good with that, and we teach discipline, respect, and most of those kids that come in the gym, their parents will bring them there because they they gets in trouble at school and stuff like that, and some of them
they need the Isaac swaddle.
Yeah. So when we get them there, after about 30 days, they're a whole different kid. It's like we family in that gym, and they don't want to miss that gym for nothing. We make sure they get their grades up in school. If some of them have bad grades coming to school, we would suspend them from coming to the gym, and they don't want that because they fall in love with that gym, and they fall in love with each other, and it's like a big family in there. So everybody we have in there right now is they kind of like what you call that? Well, they all got the best grades they could have in school. So, and they respect. One lady, she called. Yeah, one of the parents called just last week and was just thanking us for what we did, the transformation that her son has made since he's been in the gym. And she said, I really appreciate y'all, coach. Y'all did a good job with my son. My son is a whole different person now. He respects everybody. He respects himself. Said, we appreciate it. And so we hear that all the time. And that's what we want to hear. Yeah, and it's something to keep them off the street. They have something to look forward to. We bring them to compete. Like we giving our own show next Saturday, and we would have people coming from Texas, Atlanta, all parts of Louisiana, coming to participate. Mm. So it's a pretty big deal for us.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's great.
Amy.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your legacy? I mean, Isaac's like, Isaac's just changing the hearts and minds of young people in New Orleans.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Try to top that. But what's your legacy now?
So this is the first time you'll find this, probably surprising, Tracy, given that I was on a podcast, talking about my last book. But this I'm finally doing what feels to me like what my life's purpose is. I've always wondered, as people do, about why things happen in life and what is your journey and all of that. And all I can say is at this moment in time, I feel like I'm in alignment. I'm doing what I needed to do. I think all the paths in my life, from being a psychiatrist and a trauma specialist and my own work personally, has brought me to this moment in time where I am pivoting in my career, quite literally, to really dedicating myself to trying to fix the system and talk about it and, keep talking about it and sharing our story. And so I hope I hope this book, this legacy, our relationship, that to me, I mean, that to me is what I want my legacy to be. I don't want it to be quite honestly, Wired to Connect, or, I mean, I'm proud of that work, but that was work. This is life. This is passion. This is, it's like where it all has come together for me. And so so it really is a profound moment, actually, for me personally, as well as, I think our relationship, and it is a pivot point for me in a way that just, no questions.
Yeah, I can really feel that as you speak.
Yeah, good. I'm glad, because it's so true, and, and I get to, I get to have these people in my life. I get more great people. I'm meeting many amazing people through Isaac, through, I mean, it's like this whole, I feel like I walked through a door, into a whole different world,
Yeah.
People are actually laugh at me now. I don't know if you notice, Isaac, but mostly if I don't have a shirt on for work, I'm in my Innocence Project sweatshirt always. It's like I go, this is it. So
well, I already have some places I'm going to refer you guys out to amplify your story. So
thank you.
I will be backing you guys up. I already know of a few, but I won't say that on air in case I fail you miserably. I wanted to share a story because I do have, for whatever reason, I listened. So I don't know, Isaac, if Amy gave you too much background about why I'm interviewing you or what the podcast is about. But 6 years ago, I started listening on a public sidewalk. So I started putting my therapist chair on the sidewalk, and I just listened to strangers about anything. It could be anyone. You could be really rich. You could be homeless. You could be, I mean, I've listened to so many different kinds of people, but I wanted to share with you one story that was so touching about somebody who had just gotten out of prison. And it's one of my top 5 stories that really moved me. And I didn't even listen to the guy. We were on Hollywood Boulevard in the Sunset Strip out front of Amoeba Records. I think it was 2016. And this guy had sat down, and he had been listened to, and he left. He went across the street, and the person that listened to him said, "Oh, he just got out of prison 3 days ago. He was in prison for 30 years." And I said, "Oh, wow." And she goes, "Yeah." And he said that I was the first person that treated him like he was a human in a really long time, because nobody really listens to him with a certain level of honor and reverence for his humanity. And I said, "Wow, that's really amazing." And she said, "He was really amazing." So I'm like, okay. So an hour goes by, and this guy is standing across the street, and he starts yelling, "Amy," which was the listener's name. "Amy." Funny. And he pulls the sticker. We gave out stickers that said, "Someone listened to me today." And he held it up in the air. I mean, it was like a movie moment. He held it up in the air, and he smiled, and he said, "Thank you." And he took the backing off the sticker and put it on his jacket. And he had this look on his face that really said, "It's been a long time. It's been a long time since somebody has treated me with dignity and respect." And it was that incident. In San Diego every year, they have a big, and the party is something I've wanted to go listen to and have a listening session with for years. So maybe you guys have inspired me to want to go to that party and just hold space. Say, "Hey, just here to listen in dignity with you." I just wanted to share that story.
It's so resonant and so familiar. And again, I mean, isn't that exactly what was being talked about last night, Isaac? Right?
That's right.
You come out of prison and your humanity's gone. How do you get it back? And to listen to, I mean, this is, part of the opening for me is listening to these formerly incarcerated people, some that have done it and some that were wrongly convicted, and just freaking listening to the humanity of it, bearing witness, learning and as they support each other back, back into humanity, right?
Mhm.
It is, again, I use this, I don't mean to throw it around lightly, but it's just profound. I mean,
Mhm.
it just feels like a different level of healing, that is happening. So I appreciate that story a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I told you I could keep you forever, but I'm going to let you guys go off and have fun with your families and whatever you're going to do on this Wednesday. But we have this little ritual for how we close down the podcast now, which is I hand over the mic to the two of you because we have 8,000 of these listeners now that sit on sidewalks in 50 cities and 14 countries. And I invite you to speak directly to them, either a wish or words of wisdom. We had someone sing an opera a few weeks ago. No pressure. But what would you want to say directly to them? Not to me, but to those listeners who choose to do this on the sidewalk as their own, really as a practice, not to help or fix anyone, but as a practice of holding space.
Do you want to jump in, Isaac? Or I feel like I'm always like, no, I'll go, Yeah.
Yeah, you go, Amy.
Okay. What I want to say is thank you. You are doing the work. That is the work of healing. That is the work of healing. It is being with it, and bearing witness and listening. And there is nothing more important in the world than being able to hear and be with somebody in their story. That is the thing that changes us on the deepest, most profound levels. And so, I want to say, I'm not a particularly religious person. I want to say you're doing the Lord's work. You're doing the universe's work in healing, humanity in the ways that we have gotten so desperately lost in how we treat each other. That's what I'd say.
Yes, and I'll say the same thing. Thank y'all. Appreciate every minute of it. And I think we all need something to talk, somebody to talk to, and somebody to listen. And I think Jane, you're doing a very good job with the sidewalk talk because everybody, we have people that they have something to say, but they don't have nobody to say it to. And with you being an ear to listen, that's a blessing for them as well. So it's a good thing, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the podcast, and everything, and the people that's listening. Continue to doing what you're doing, because it's a healing. It's a healing.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need an ear.
Yeah, we need it here. We need it now. There's a concept in relational cultural theory. It might not be just in RCT, but of listening people into voice, and really understanding that the human condition is one of relationship. We don't find our voices alone. We find it in the context of relationship, and those people are doing the most basic, without judgment, without, X, Y, or Z, just being with, and that's what we need.
Well,
So
thanks for
your work. Yeah.
And thanks for modeling it for the rest of us, because the way that the two of you have shown up with each other, the way you, Nancy, have shown up with everybody, and these are two families that have modeled listening for the rest of the world, truly.
Yeah,
Truly,
exactly.
across the hardest topics.
You got it.
So
Yeah.
with that being said, I'll just say to those that are listening that Fighting Time, it's a book that you need to buy and need to allow yourself to be impacted by. It will be uncomfortable, but then take that discomfort and turn it into action so that we can fix this broken system. And the links for everything where you can find Isaac and some of his work at his gym, and the links where you can find more of Amy's work, as well as links to the book, you'll find in the show notes. And thanks so much, you two, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.